All right, guys. Still Sunday morning. Still haven't had a shave. Still enjoying my morning coffee because I went back to bed and got back up. So apologies for being a bit lazy today, but very rarely am I sat around doing nothing. So even sat around doing nothing, I'm making this video. Um, schools in Spain. Are they free? Now, I've had a few people ask about the international schools and about going to them, and my personal view is I think you don't really need them. The school system here is pretty good anyway. I mean, the school my kids go to is not a private school, it's a government school. So, with that, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's a lot of resources that are injected into the area as well. I would also say, though, there was a bit of complaint between Alicante and um, Torrevieja area because the amount of money spent on the kids in this area is 12 times what it's spent in the Alicante area. Um, Not sure why, because Alicante's probably got more cash. You know, at the end of the day, it's got more tourists, so it should have more money because at certain times of the year, it's full of people with money that don't actually live there. I know we've got similar, but I'm sure there must be more people in Alicante than there is here. You know, in all those Benidorm type places where the high rise hotels and stuff. So, not sure why, but we find the schools here very, very good. Um, Now, the other thing is, with an international school, they may be more geared towards everything being in English because they're trying to get Spanish kids to learn English or whatever reason, which also means your kids are very likely not to pick up Spanish, which is actually not a help, it's a hindrance. Um, I recommend the state schools. Simple as that. I don't see the point unless you really want to push your kids into a private school. But then again, I would then be looking more at a high level private school rather than a localized one, which may be just glamorized and not actually offer you a better service. You know, it may not be advantageous. You know, so you do some reviews and that, and look up some reviews and stuff to get an idea of what you're actually paying for, because sometimes it's just lip service. So from that point of view, I'd say the state schools are pretty good anyway. From a document point of view, the main thing the schools are interested in is your medical cover. Now, if you're self-employed, you'll get SIP cards easy enough. SIP cards are the Spanish health cards, and if you give a copy of that to the school, they're happy because all they're worried about is if the kids have an accident, how it's dealt with. Um, Private healthcare is also on the cards, and if you're coming over from the UK, having your EHIC card until Brexit happens, you can actually go in and they'll transfer onto a SIP card. Or they were doing that because they alter the system quite regularly. But you should be able to just go in there with EHIC and your Padron, and they'll update it. Padron is to say that you have a contract with a property. They issue the Padrons every 3 months, so you constantly have to update them for whatever you're doing. Buying a car, I need a Padron. Registering as self-employed, I need a Padron. Um, Doing something with the local authorities for something else requires a Padron. It's one of those documents they constantly require, and it's done for every 3 months because, like out here, three-quarters of the houses are empty. So the budgets for the area are set on the populace. The populace is set from the Padron. So if you had every house just registering up like once every 10 years, this area would be pumped to money that it simply isn't entitled to. I mean, it certainly doesn't need it. Doesn't want this, you know, the amount of money for the bins being collected, for example, when you've got like 1 in 4 houses that's actually occupied, it would just be too much money. And yeah, so that's why the Padrons are paying. But once you get the first one done, you just take your passports along and take the passports along and your old Padron, and they do it in about 5 minutes. As soon as you get in the queue, get in there, they can see you're already listed on there. They're just like, how many copies do you want? And out the door. They're used to doing it that way, so it's not a problem once you get into the system. The other thing is your kids will need a medical health check. Now, if you're getting a SIP card, you can get it done at the clinics. You can also get it done at the hospitals. You will need to, it's probably easier to go to the main hospital and ask, and they'll direct you to wherever you need to go to get the paperwork. Or just head into the smaller clinics if there's one nearby. These clinics are called saluds. And you just go in there. The receptionist may not be helpful. I mean, another one in La Mata, she potentially doesn't speak English when she does. I think she just gets fed up with people coming in there and not speaking any Spanish, so she tells them to go away and get a translator. But if you're speaking terrible Spanish, she will soon swap to English rather than listening to your horrible voice. Well, she does with me, anyway. She sort of gets frustrated with listening to me, so she sort of goes, okay, you know. But yeah, schools are free, and then we get onto the costs. Now, depending where you are, depending what year the kids are in, they sometimes get government funding for school books because you do have to buy the school books. I think school books are about €400 a year, or budget around that. It might be lower. It's not above 400, but that's for the whole year. They also, with that, you'll actually buy reams of paper and things as well for the whole class. Not that the whole class gets it, it's just that they just stack all the paper up. They're not going, well, that's your sheet of A4, little Timmy. That's John's, you can't use John's. That's not yours, you know. They just buy it for the class, and then they just use it throughout the year. But the school books you do have to buy. The government do sponsor some of it. And I do think my son, who's currently on the floor playing on my laptop, next year we'll be paying all of his books. But last year I think we only had to put, I think it's about €160 or something towards it. So that's something to look into. Transportation to schools is another thing. Depending where you are, and depending how far you are from the school, the bus may actually be free if there is one. Here, when we moved house, there wasn't a bus. But when we submitted our stuff, we were quite lucky that other people have moved into the area as well, because the bus used to be about 10 minutes walk that way. Now it's right here. So for us, ideal. They actually pick all the kids up because about 5 kids at our bus stop now. So that is free, and it's for it to be free, it's got to be within 3 kilometers of the school in this area, because each area has their own little way of working. Best people to ask is parents, because they'll know at each bus stop what they have to pay the school, or if they're not paying at all. So the bus service is one of those things that can or cannot be an expense, and if it is an expense, I think it can be about €90 a month. So bear that in mind. The other thing is school meals. Now, depending when you want to pick the kids up, depends on whether they stay till 5 o'clock or go at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Because if they're not staying for meals, you go home and the kids don't come back to school. Simple as that. But the thing with that is sometimes they don't run the bus, because the bus will go at the end of the day and not halfway through it, because the majority of kids are staying till 5 o'clock. So you may find that the bus route is not running when your kids want to come home, where it may work out cheaper and more convenient to pay the extra for the school meals. Now, the school meals, I think they cost me about €100 per child. Now, there is a scheme on that as well, point system, that if a kid has some like health issues, or there's reasons behind poor background, whatever, you know, there is actual points to assist with that if somebody's from a less favorable background. So they do actually assist if they can, or entitled to, and they will say, oh, you're entitled to this or not, whatever. The schools are pretty good, they're friendly. What else is there to say about the schools? Yeah, the times of the year depend when the schools open and close as well. They can vary. And myself, I still don't know myself, but at certain times of the year, they seem to finish about 3 o'clock, and then following month they are staying till 5 o'clock. Not sure why. It just happens that way, and I'm sure somebody will fill in the comments below exactly why. I just know you need to pick them up at this time. Yeah, that's it. April deals with all that stuff. I have enough on my plate, so April deals with that stuff. But they do change. So if you're working, bear that in mind. That it's not like the UK where it's a certain time of day every day. It actually changes. And obviously, if you're having school lunches, it's a longer day. But I do encourage telling your kids to do their homework instead of playing for the 3 hours. Unlike somebody down here that brings his homework home for me to do with him, because he spends the after lunch, he plays for about 3 hours. Don't you? Yeah. Yeah. So so I get a lot of mathematics homework quite regularly. But that's the thing, you do get homework with the kids as well, and they may speak more than one Spanish dialect, which is another bonus. Not for me, because I'm struggling with one, never mind learning Valencian. But the point being is, the schools are pretty good. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of activities with the school as well. I mean, I know this one here, there is always stuff going on. I know with my daughter in the UK, I can't remember her being on an excursion. This one here seems to be every month. I know my daughter, she's out regularly. You know, they'll go out to various things. You know, well, she goes to all the art stuff as well because she's in all the art contests. But she's very active, and the schools promote it because the thing is, it's like if you're good at sports. If you're a certain level in sports as a child, they will actually give you more points for the school because the school gets more money for having, I don't know if you call them professional sports people because they're still children, but if you're up to a professional standard or something, I don't know how it's worked out, county champion or whatever, I'm not sure, but it's actually, they do actually have sponsorship, so you can actually go to a school that may not normally be in your area simply because you're good at sports. So there is things like that as well. They do promote it. I mean, that's the thing. And the other side of this being is if your child has any special needs, look around for the schools because some have more facilities than others. And because they have special needs, it means that they have points, which means you may have flexibility in going to a different school where like Tracy, when he first moved here, he had one kid in one school and one in the other. Not that there were special needs, it was just that that's where the placements were, because he didn't have enough points to put them both in the same school, because there was not enough spaces. So there is some flexibility in that. There is some subsidies as well for people with kids with special needs. I don't know what they are. I just know from a woman, a grandmother, that I've spoken to, that her grandson, who's deaf and got some other issues, they do get a government subsidy, but it doesn't pay on time. It's normally about a year late, but there is some government assistance. So I hope this answers your questions, but my personal view is the Spanish schools are pretty good. I'm not a fan of their maths system, but at the same time, I still teach my kids traditional maths anyway, so it doesn't hurt. But I do find that they're doing quite well at the school. They're getting multilingual. They're studying a lot of different things. Zoe gets a lot of support as well because obviously Zoe's got autism, so she has a lot of assistance on specific things like verbal training and that sort of stuff, communication. At the same time, the school gets a lot of benefit because she does all the art contests because she's very, very good at art for her age. So swings and roundabouts. Thanks for watching.